I admit it. I'm reaching unk status. The worst part about getting older is you've started to see it all. And no, I'm not talking about the crackheads on every corner of the city, although that's also part of it. I mean the characters in fiction. The more shows you see, the more pattern recognition you start to gain. You could tell where the show's gonna go, who's the villain, and what the main character is gonna act like for the rest of the season. And while I'd like to think that I'm Aizen with some type of super genius brain, in reality people make what sells, so there's gonna be a lot of repetition. Of course, that's not always the case, but there's demographics that must be sold to. Mainly teens and young adults looking for some good fiction, even if it's not the most original. And honestly, I get it. As someone who's in school for business, as much as I hate it, I have learned tons of jobs, salaries, and all that boring but important stuff rely on the work being sold. And obscure works won't always guarantee that, and some companies can't take that risk. But with all of that being said and hearing my perspective, y'all could understand how surprised I was to see a 32-year-old janitor was the protagonist of this anime.
おじさんじゃないです。まだ32です。
おじさんじゃん。
そうなの？
まあ、そうですね。
Kaiju number 8 is about a man who could not fulfill his childhood dreams. He wanted to become a sweeper who takes care of the kaijus that hurt people and destroy cities like his own one as a kid. But for some reason he couldn't. He shot for the stars and ended up as a janitor for the sweepers. But after a young recruit refuels his passion, he gets back on his feet and tries one last time to become the sweeper that his child self always dreamed of. And then immediately gets attacked by 2 kaijus, and the second one turns him into a monster.
Come on, man, I can't have shit in this house!
Luckily, he can turn back into his normal self, but it leaves us to question where exactly he'll go from here. And how would his sweeper childhood friend react to this insane transformation? I know, I praise originality, but it is clearly inspired. Kafka has this errand transformation, and it's pretty funny instead of dramatic. I think even they knew that we've seen it before. But in general, it doesn't try to hide its inspiration, it just offers a different take on it. Even the childhood friend / love interest trope is used in a much more interesting way than usual. And the most original thing is also the most touching. There's some real heart put into this. Of course, there's the obviously amazing animation, but I'm also talking about the story of Kafka himself and what his age and career reflects. I know I could, and I'm sure a lot of other people could relate to the experience of having that one childhood dream. Before you learn about the world's barriers, anything seems possible. But of course, there's circumstances and other things you take into account as you grow older, and suddenly you can't be an astronaut because you have to do some stupid math with a bunch of letters and a teacher who has a stupid accent.
No more than one unmarketable comment.
He goes by the name Anti-Cash, and he's the first person to go straight into becoming an astronaut with no school at all. Failure is part of life, but what sucks is sometimes you have to let go of a dream. There are age limits on things, like having a sports dream. You start to get older and less time to chase that passion, and now you're forced to find a new one. I went through and I'm currently going through exactly this. As a former athlete who now talks about anime 24/7, I've had quite the rediscovery. Also, going to school with people who've accomplished the things that I used to want to do is kinda tough to deal with. On the one side, I'm proud of them for achieving something I know is extremely difficult. And on the other side, you get this type of imposter syndrome, questioning why it wasn't you and how you ended up like this. Kafka is super relatable, and maybe it's just because I'm reaching unk status, but this is the protagonist that I'd want to watch. In my eyes, he is a real hero. I already kinda discussed this in my previous video, but it flopped. And I also talked about it in the video before that, which also flopped.
Yo, come on, man, I can't have shit!
But some modern issues in anime, and the ones that tend to pop up, is that they are way too serious. And don't get me wrong, I love my serious works. As an Attack on Titan fan, I can appreciate works that barely have any humor. But also as a One Piece fan, I can admit that humor just works sometimes. There's a way to balance the two, and it's not easy, but it's pretty important. Because humor is what connects all of us, despite our differences. I grew up inspired by these serious works. I thought being mysterious and quiet was the way to go. But in reality, life is more fun just living a little. Encouraging humor and jokes, because even in this serious world, jokes help us find the fun in it. As for the fictional works, just because there's jokes doesn't mean it can't be taken serious. And I think that's something people held in the past, but we're finally starting to get over it. And with that, Kaiju number 8 is really good so far. It's got humor, an outro by One Republic, and a 30-year-old protagonist. Need I say more? If they keep up with the right direction these episodes have been going in, I got high hopes. And maybe reaching Unk status isn't so bad after all.
I'm 56 years old.
Damn! I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yo, is 21 really Unk status? Cause I feel like it's not. I feel like that's still young. That aside, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed Kaiju number 8. I've been hearing about it for a while from manga readers, but now that it's finally animated, I've been enjoying it. And I'm glad that there's this new wave of humor because, you know, we had that dark trio back then, which I talked about, and it was getting a bit too dark. I'm also hearing really bad things about JJK's manga, which is just some terrible news, but hopefully, you know, they could recover. Hopefully they could pick up from these newer anime because they're funny. I mean, Go-Go Loser Rangers or Ranger Reject is also funny, so they need to pick up from that, you know, balance humor, balance the plot. Hopefully they figure that out. But yeah, I'm enjoying Kaiju number 8 right now. Yo, watch Shogun if you guys watch any regular shows. Has to be one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. Maybe I'm exaggerating, it's only one season, but it is so well made, and I just watched the finale. I had to mention it. You know, it kind of sucks because I do want to keep it an anime channel for the time being, just to get the algorithm across, because clearly I don't have that figured out yet. But I really do love Shogun. I love film and TV shows, and that is an amazing TV show. With all of that being said, that pretty much wraps it up for the video. If you liked the video, feel free to subscribe, hit that like button. I appreciate it. I really am trying to come back from this algorithm drought. But that does it. So thank you for watching, and I might see you in the next one.